Order. Well, your time's expired. Senator Lundy.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister for Broadband Communications and the Digital Economy, Senator Conroy. Can the minister inform the Senate about the government's reforms to telecommunications regulation? Can he outline the benefits to the government's reform package that are expected to be brought to Australian consumers and businesses?
I'm going to have to ask you to repeat, because when Senator Lundy, if people want to debate these issues, the time is at the end on both sides at the end of question time. I'm entitled to hear the questioner. Senator Lundy.
I'll start my question again. Thank you, Mr President.
I would like to hear your question.
Can the minister inform the Senate about the government's reforms to the telecommunications sector regulation? Can he outline the benefits the government's reform package are expected to bring to Australian consumers and businesses?
The Minister for Broadband Communication and the Digital Economy, Senator Conroy.
Thank you, Mr President. I thank Senator Lundy for her question and ongoing interest in this area. Mr President, in April, the Rudd government embarked upon an ambitious program to fundamentally transform Australia's telecommunications industry in the interests of all Australians. The National Broadband Network will be the largest nation-building investment in Australia's history. Today, the Rudd government is taking the next step in revolutionising Australia's communications landscape by delivering long-overdue reform of the telecommunications sector. These historic reforms will ensure the delivery of high-quality services to Australian businesses and consumers. As the government proceeds with the rollout of the National Broadband Network, Mr President, these reforms are critical to ensuring that communications services operate effectively and efficiently in Australia's long-term national interest. And contrary to the views put by Senator Minchin, today's reforms address structural problems in the marketplace while giving Telstra flexibility to choose its future path. If only those opposite, when they had the chance, Mr President, had listened to Senator Coonan when she was minister, had listened to Senator Nash or Senator Joyce when they put forward some courageous policy proposals. But no, Senator Minchin had the dead hand. Senator Minchin had the dead hand of the Howard government under his control, and he wouldn't listen to Senator Coonan, he wouldn't listen to Senator Nash, he wouldn't listen to Senator Joyce.
Time's expired. Time's order. When there's order, I'll proceed. When there is order, I will proceed on both sides. Wait, Senator Lundy. When there's order, I'll proceed to ask. Order. Time for debating this issue at the end of question time. On both sides. Order. Order. Senator Lundy.
Thank you, Mr President. Can the minister advise the Senate why it is necessary to implement regulatory reform of the telecommunications sector in Australia now? What are the specific challenges confronting the telecommunications sector, and how do the government's proposed reforms address those challenges?
Minister.
Mr President, while significant structural reform has occurred in other key infrastructure industries, previous governments have failed to undertake necessary structural microeconomic reform in telecommunications. Since 1997, in other regulated sectors, including aviation and energy, there have been just 3 access disputes since 1997. Over the same period, in the telco sector, there have been more than 150 access disputes. The measures in this legislation will finally correct the mistakes of the past, Mr President. They will address the legacy left by those opposite who privatised Telstra without implementing necessary reforms and left it as one of the most highly integrated telecommunications companies in the world.
Time's expired. Order. Order. Senator Lundy.
Thank you. Can the minister outline any alternative policies that might address the unique challenges and opportunities brought about by recent developments in the telecommunications sector, including the government's decision to build a high-speed, fibre-to-the-premises national broadband network?
The Minister.
Thank you, Mr President. Mr President, I would love to be able to contrast this government's historic policies in communications with alternatives put forward by those opposite. But unfortunately, you've guessed it, there aren't any, Senator Sherry. There aren't any. I do, though, as I said, congratulate Senator Minchin on an important milestone, as I said, that he's reached today. 150, and I believe since question time started, it could be higher now, 150 media releases since he took on the shadow communications portfolio 51 weeks ago today. That's 150 media releases in 357 days, and not one of them have flirted with a policy. Not one of them have flirted. That's a lot of time at the crease without troubling the scorer. The milestone is the sole portfolio achievement of an opposition bereft
Senator
of
Conroy, your time's
communication.
expired. Resume your seat.